So I want to talk a little bit today about reimagining justice. And I think it's important for us to understand that we build what we believe, right? If we believe that there are people who are less than us, less important, Black and brown folks, June talked about elders, we build that, right? And it exacerbates and foments those beliefs, and they outlast us, right? Exacerbating that. And I cannot imagine a piece of infrastructure where we see that more than in our criminal justice architecture, right? When I look at this, I see that we've built punishment, we've built separation, power, hierarchy, and these are filled with a disproportionate amount of Black and brown bodies. And we are building this rather than investing in community. So when my firm starts to think about what we do, we're like, well, what do we build instead of this, right? That prettier versions are not the solution. We are solutionaries together, and these are new spaces and new places that we may not have even imagined, right? That have to get built, a whole constellation of infrastructure to address the root causes rather than the thing itself. And so the process for that for us is super critical, right? This radical reimagining with community, we have to ignite that, right? We have to move people into a mindset of elastic thinking, right? To come up with new solutions. We have to co-learn, right? People need to understand the built environment, and we need to take their wisdom and develop these new solutions and prototypes. And so this engagement of tools and games and creative practice together is built into a process that we use where design is being looked at, the finance, right? How do we pay for this? We have program providers working with us, sometimes policy, and together we're able to come up with a really robust concept for a prototype that we can then go use to leverage big dollars. And so over this time, we really identified 3 buckets of work, right, that we need to build to end mass incarceration. And these are restorative reinvestments in communities. These are restorative reentry infrastructure, right, for folks coming home. And this is the repurposing and reimagining of criminal justice infrastructure. Now, most of our stuff are restorative reinvestments, right? We're disinvesting from criminal justice and reinvesting in communities most impacted. And our pop-up village project is like a pop-up to permanent solution, right? Like, how do we take a constellation of resources, activate blighted sites, and bring beautiful, beautiful, although temporary infrastructure, such as shops and barbers, and we have classrooms, and we have fresh food and produce, and the library comes. But we also have like vehicles, right, where people can get massage and acupuncture. And this particular vehicle supports women released from jail in the middle of the night when it's not at our village, survivors of sex trafficking, and right now is out on Treasure Island supporting unhoused women, right? So these sort of mobile places that allow people to get ready access to resources. And we have to build bricks and mortar, right? So Restore Oakland is an example of the country's first restorative justice and restorative economic center in the Fruitvale, opened last year. We helped nonprofits buy this building, we gutted it, and we turned it into a restaurant that trains low-wage restaurant workers to get living wage jobs in fine dining. Has the largest fine dining training kitchen in the country. La Cocina, where Reem studied and worked and launched, is there. Also, Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, Causa Justa Just Cause, activists on the top floor, and the county's first dedicated space for restorative justice, right? Rather than sending people to court. This project has ignited another project, right? We're already seeing this amplification, right? I believe in a different type of justice, let's make more. And so we're now going to own DJDS Real Estate Holdings. And in Detroit, we will be creating an entire campus, right? A social justice campus we call the Love Campus. And it starts with that building in this picture right behind myself and our team called the Love Building. And the Love Building is very similar to Restore Oakland. It's owned by a whole range of nonprofits who will occupy, activate this incredible site with beautiful outdoor community space. We'll have wonderful food on the ground floor, Detroit Justice Center, Detroit Disability Power, right? A whole group of social justice groups. And they started construction on this last month, right? So it's a big deal, right? This is happening. And at the same time, my organization will be purchasing the blue lots that you see here to expand that into a campus, right? We'll have workforce development hub. We will be investing in food sovereignty through a food ecosystem, as Reem was talking about, daily needs retail, arts and culture, education and literacy space, youth spaces, and spaces for folks returning home, both in terms of records expungement or just being together, to housing. We know this reentry piece is challenging due to NIMBYism, due to the fact that financing structures are challenged, and we have thousands of folks coming home from prison and jail because of COVID, right? Ending up homeless and in shelters and having nowhere to go. So one project we were working on is our mobile refuge rooms. They are really pop-up rooms that provide dignity and privacy to folks. We've designed them with formerly incarcerated men and women. We built them with formerly incarcerated men and women at Laney College. The beta is in the field. We are building a business model. We have our patents in, and we're hoping to have many more of these coming out next year. And so the last bucket of work, right, is one that is increasingly being seen across the country. We just finished a process with Atlanta to repurpose the Atlanta City Detention Center into a center for equity, right? This is a 475,000 square foot building that used to have over 1,000 people, now it's 20. And these buildings are harmful, right? They've harmed people. And we're seeing this everywhere. In Oakland too, right? Our jail is empty. And it's important we engage community in reimagining this. We engage hundreds and hundreds of Atlantans using model making, our space and finance planning, to be like, what's a center for equity, right? And they're like, it's a one-stop shop that has all the things we need, right? Behavioral health services, food, and really community space, right? That was the thing people wanted the most. And when we showed the 4 options to them, they didn't even want to repurpose it, right? They're like, tear it down. We want to see a center for equity campus. Or even better, we want to distribute the centers for equity in our own community, right? And just leave that site, right? So this is the sort of vision for our jails as we begin to reimagine what they could be. And now what we've been able to do is take all of these projects, right, over 10 years of research, and create a kind of visualization and mapping tool, right, that allows communities and gives them the agency to plan their neighborhoods with the infrastructure they need to end mass incarceration and the police state as we know it. So I'm inviting you to go back to rethinking if justice is about transformation, right? If we believe that, right, it's about caring, right? It's about loving one another. What does that look like, right? Join us in kind of reimagining what we need to build instead of what we've been seeing. And justice is what love could look like, right? In public. But thank you.
Deanna, powerful as usual. It seems like you're solving all of the world's problems with your work. Truly, it's so. I mean, at least the U.S.'s problems. And as the audience thinks of questions for you, I will again continue the question surrounding what can we do to support your vision.
Yeah, people always ask that. And, you know, I say the same thing, so I'm maybe getting boring. I always ask people to do their work on themselves. I ask people to do the inner work around their internalized racism, their internalized patriarchy. This is work we all have to do. And it really starts with us, right? It really starts with making sure that what do I truly believe? Because if it goes unexamined and it goes unanalyzed, you'll just act it out. You'll act it out just subconsciously, right? And be contributing to the very thing we say we don't want. And so that's an inquiry I do with myself all the time. What am I really thinking and believing? Mm-hmm. What's the world I want to see? And I encourage folks to believe in abolition, that it's possible, and have a vision for the world you want to see, and know that we're living in someone else's imagination, right? This is not my imagination. And begin to imagine with us.
Excellent. We did get some questions in. So I will start with, let's see here. Wondering from Amelia All, wondering if you can speak to the connection between police and prison abolition through your work. Are there ways you are designing spaces that aim to provide community care and safety and abolish the police?
Yeah, you know, we're very interested in developing what we call de-escalation centers. We are tracking several groups, one in particular in Southern California that is already doing it at the Chuco Justice Center. I encourage you all looking at that, where they are training people to de-escalate. They do not call the police, right? So this is a no-call police site. You come here, you learn to disarm somebody, right, without a gun. You learn to use your words first. They're also doing transformative justice, right? Bringing Black and Brown gang members into the same space to have dialogue. So reducing violence before it ever happens. So this is to me, very, very exciting. And these are the kinds of spaces and program in place together that we need to be supporting. I would love to do one in Detroit at the Love Campus.
Excellent. Someone also asked, how has the pandemic affected the progress of your sites and efforts?
Yeah, I think it's affected us, right? We don't decouple the pandemic in many ways from the racial uprising we saw, because that has meant that our work had to get amplified, right? So we've doubled our organization during the pandemic. We've had to have more people to address the bigger need and the awakening and the way that it's, supporting people to move projects forward. At the same time, very hard to do design work in this format, right? We're trying to use all these new digital tools. The communities we're working with don't have access to the kind of technology that we need. We've had to identify ourselves as essential workers and get on planes safely as we can and be on the ground, right? We did road trips. We've trained people locally on the ground who can do things. So we're really trying any means necessary, because the work is continuing and growing.
And thank you. There have been a number of folks talking about the different locations, Detroit, Oakland, and now Atlanta. And so can you talk more about why those places, how they're connected?
Yeah, so we've been working nationally from the beginning. Part of our strategy has been we just need to build the new models, right? I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're in the middle of Kansas, my little butt's gonna get out there and figure out how we're gonna make it work. Our first project was in Syracuse, New York. I would hustle up there. So it's almost about who are the right partners, right? Strong partners, people doing some really cutting edge shit, right? And you work with them and you show up there. So Atlanta, I've seen stuff I'd never seen before. LA County is doing some crazy stuff, you guys, like alternative to incarceration infrastructure. Detroit wanted to be the country's first restorative justice city. I was on a plane in about half a second to go help them out. So we just go where the genius is.
Love it.
And it's in Oakland too, so we're focusing here too.
Absolutely. And so 2 more questions. I think they're small enough that we might be able to cover them. How are you leveraging ADUs and home ownership with the reentry population? Is it
Sure.
by Alfredo, Matthew?
Yeah, so Impact Justice is doing some great work around supporting reentry folks coming in to live with folks in their homes. I'm on June's list as a support for that particular piece. So whenever June calls me and wants my help with that, we're on it. So I know that June's thinking about that, and we will support her in making sure that also happens, and I think it'll be tied well, like if we start to pair it with Impact Justice's program, right? So we take the place piece, Impact Justice, it's imminent and it's so obvious.
Excellent. And then the last question, what is Oakland's response about redesigning the downtown jail?
Ooh, tell you what, that is yet to come. I don't think they have a plan, but I have one. So we'll see if we get a chance to implement that. We're raring to go. We would love to help them reimagine and repurpose that facility.
We would love to see that work be done.